Everyone wants to get to the high places, but if you want to go high, you first have to go deep. What's up, crew? Welcome back to the Deep End. Hope you're amazing. And today's going to be fun, really fun. We're going to have a good time. We're going to be talking about productivity, schedules, how to just, grind and work your 1,000 hours a week so that you cannot be a failure. That's kind of if you don't work 1,000 hours a week, if you don't work the weekends, can you even be successful?
No.
I don't think you can. We're going to talk about my style of productivity because it's a little bit different. You got to fix the dichotomy you live in. If you live in an either or philosophy, it means you're always trading something to get something else. Super transactional. If you can get into a both and state, both and is not an issue of what wins. It's an issue of what wins first. This is the priorities. There's a hierarchy in my life, but I want everything to have its energy. I don't want to, they say like you have to sacrifice this to get that. True in a sense, but you're not deciding what wins or loses. You're deciding what wins first. And that's a different frame. Does that make sense?
Why do you bring that up when it comes to grind culture? Why do you feel like that's important?
Because, dude, hard work is important. We're going to talk about my founder story a little bit, like how I got going. Like, it was intense, man. The first couple of years of my career, dude, like, did I let relationships go away? 100%. Yeah. Like, you can't get momentum without pushing something. But at the same time, people get stuck in that, and then they get to the end of their life. They wish they could go back and reharvest the moments, but time doesn't work like that. You memorialize your weeks when you finish them. You can't go back and dig them up and redo them. So I think the healthiest way of advancement is what we're going to teach on today. And it's a way you can advance and create progress while knowing where you are on the map. Before we get to that though, I think we should address some comments, because I don't always have time in these videos. First of all, I don't know what people are going to say about different things. And we're just now getting to the point, Jake, you know way more about this than I do. We're just now getting to the point where stuff's starting to hit off on other platforms, but they're not seeing the main discussion.
Yep.
So they're just seeing this little snippet and losing their minds and their sanity and their salvation basically over little stuff. And so I want to hit a really important question first with this from TikTok. TikTok's fire right now. TikTok I can't go on TikTok anymore because I get stuck there.
Oh yeah.
Let me answer this question real fast, and then we're going to deal with some hate mail in the comments. This person says, there's a video I put on TikTok that was essentially, I prayed about it a couple of days ago, and I can feel that there's like shifts and things happening in the worlds. Have you ever felt really agitated and you don't know why? So I'll be real honest with you. Like, I know this about you, so this isn't fair because I'm cheating. But there are some days when you'll just wake up and you're just feeling not yourself. You're frustrated, you have anxiety, something's wrong. Well, it's really because you're prophetic. So you're tapping into a spiritual atmosphere that might not have anything to do with you, but you're tapping into it. And so I think you're still in that process of learning how to pray through those things.
Yeah.
I was just on the phone with a client who's become a friend, and same thing. He's like, for years, I was just like, maybe I just have anxiety, and like I could get diagnosed or something, like something's wrong with me. But what's happening is he's very prophetic. So he's feeling agitated because there's something going on that's changing, and his spirit is feeling that. And so he doesn't know what to do with it. And so I've learned that when I wake up and I feel something, I just pray into it. Let's figure out, is this for me? Is this for someone else? And so this was Monday, a couple days ago. And I was like, whoa, like something is massively speeding up. Like the timelines I feel like I'm out of control, but in a good way, sort of like it's kind of. And so I shared this video on TikTok. We can link it. People should go look. But someone says, how did you get so close to God? Because I want to do that. Please teach me. So I'm going to answer this real fast. First of all, there is no secret to getting close to God, and I don't actually think that I am as close to God as I should be or want to be. So I feel like no one should watch this and be like, oh, Taylor is the example of a one with God's heart. Like, please don't get that from me, because there are people that I look up to and I'm like, man, he is so close to God. Like, I think that as soon as you believe that you are as close to God as you need to be, you have major issues. So I want to just put that right out front. But to answer to this is, you just spend time with God. You actually spend time praying. You spend time in the morning asking God questions. And at first you might not hear anything because it's like a muscle. The first 100 times, probably, maybe 150 times that I asked God to talk to me, he was talking, but I couldn't hear it because I was not looking in the right places. It's a frequency. You learn how to tune into that frequency.
Yep.
But if you want to know how, I can tell if someone's going to get it, because at 150 times, the last 151. If they don't hear it, the last 152. If they don't hear it, the last 100. And here's the thing. After 1,000 requests, do you ask again? If so, you're going to get close to God all on your own. There's no secret to it. Do you agree with that?
100%.
All right. We had a clip that's still going viral with our boy, Cochini, the doctor. We got to get him back on, man. And if you don't know Michael Cochini, he's like one of my favorite people to watch and sometimes argue with, because he's like between 100 and maybe 1,000 times smarter than I am. And so when you like get into a discussion about like theology and stuff with him, he's just like insane.
Yeah, you got a whole library of evidence.
He's an insane person.
Yep.
But we did an episode on fear. You got to go watch that. And one of the things we talked about is a prayer that God gave me, and he was talking about this and praying against the spiritual climate. Well, we've got all these people in this video who are like, no, you're supposed to pray for your enemies. And we're talking about people, but we're talking about spirits. They're talking about people.
Yeah.
So you should not be praying for God to bless the demons who are trying to meddle with your life. You should not be doing that. That's stupid.
Yeah. It's too high level for a lot of people.
It goes right over their heads.
Sure.
So when Michael and I, when we're both talking about this, we're like, pray for destruction. People are like, no, that's not biblical. Actually, it's in the entire Bible. It's the most biblical thing you can do. You've got this hierarchy in the kingdom of God that kind of it maps on the earthly hierarchy. And so you have principalities and spirits and demons and all of this stuff. And what a principality wants to do is, principality governs, a group of spirits. What they want to do is they want to slow down or misrepresent. These are the two things. They want to slow down or misrepresent what God is doing. So let's take those in order. Number one, they want to slow down. Why? Because it's inevitable. What God is doing is going to do. They don't have any power to stop it, but if they can slow it down, then the collateral damage of that are Christians who should have been close to God who are no longer close to God. Then the other thing they want to do is misrepresent, because if you can't stop the gospel, but you can misrepresent the gospel, then you essentially get the slowdown effect that you're wanting. And so the prayers you should be praying they should be like David. They should be quite aggressive. I think the prayer in this one was like, every time they look upon what you have given me, would you blind them? And people are like, no.
Because they think you're talking about people, not a spirit.
Yeah. And if you would just take the time to like listen to what's being said, which is very hard, I know, but you could do it. Here's another one. We just posted a short on Instagram about how when you fear God, you don't fear anything else. Maurice says that is a drastic simplification that leaves out many important aspects of the fear of God. Actually, Maurice, no. There's no way to oversimplify the gospel. The gospel is fractal. Here's what fractal means. At a high level, it means the same thing at a low level. And when you go to another level deeper, it means the same thing When you go to level deeper means the same thing. You can't oversimplify the fear of God. It's not possible. And I think that if Christians were more concerned with just getting close to God than they were with teaching God, their lives would look a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we see a lot of relationship. I saw something recently that I resonated with. It said we have a lot more people who like to have relationships that are about God rather than interested in God.
Yeah, they just want to sit around and talk about theology.
Yeah, which explains where a lot of the bad culture of Christianity comes from.
100%. Here's another one. The Instagram we did on if you keep getting sick and stuff, then pray and forgive them, and then watch other people get sick. There's a whole lot of comments. People are like, you got to give chapter and verse.
Oh, we did this last week too.
We sort of did, but people are lazy, so we'll do it again. Look, like there's no chapter and verse that explains kinesiology, because they didn't have kinesiology 2,000 years ago. They had Eastern medicine. So you'd be amazed. Like, you want to go down a rabbit hole? You want people to call me a blasphemer? All right, let's go. You'd be amazed at how much Eastern mysticism comes from the gospel. They're not true Christianity and New Age is the exact same thing, minus one element: Jesus.
Yep.
When we get into Western Christianity, people have tried to go so religious about it, because that's the thing about Western churches. It's just religion. They've gone so religion that they've stripped the power out of the whole gospel, and they've made it all about rules. But dominion, we've been given dominion. Dominion is a container for authority. So words are a container for meaning. So when I say, Jake, you are beautiful, what does beautiful mean?
Something wonderful, worth looking at.
Okay. So beautiful is just a container. It's like this is a container for coffee. Words are a container for meaning. Dominion is a container for authority. So if you want to know what we really have access to, when we come into our align with our identity as a child and as a son or a daughter, then we are being granted, this is what Jesus said, grafted in. There's like the Gentiles being grafted in. And the Jews didn't like it because they were like, no, like we're the ones with authority. No. All people who believe in Jesus have been given dominion, which is what carries their authority. And so when you get real serious about this, what you realize is that there are so many things that we can actually control because we have authority over it. But authority only works in proportion to submission. This is why when the person, it was a Roman centurion, I think, came up and asked Jesus about his daughter. Remember this story? He's like, my daughter is dying. Jesus is like, let's go. And he's like, no, you don't have to go. I am someone who is under authority, so I understand authority. I recognize your authority. All you have to do is say the word. And Jesus, what does Jesus go?
Blown away by the faith.
Jesus doesn't go like, it's not about control. It's where in Torah does it talk about controlling? No, he doesn't do that. So you got to stop being an idiot.
Yeah.
Like the biggest problem, I think, with people accepting the gospel is they see other people accept the gospel and they're so dumb. Their lives are so broken. Why would you want that? If you're like, dude, you got to check out this new food, man. It's amazing. And I'm like, well, when did you start? 3 months ago. Well, bro, you've gotten fat. Your eyes are sunken in. I ain't trying that food, dude. Like the fruit of you eating that food is nasty. Get that food away from me. I would then reject what you're trying to give me because your life looks worse with it than it did before it. Isn't this basic? Isn't this common sense? Shouldn't we all know this? And so when we go and we're like, man, you should really try Jesus. Oh, but you're not allowed to make money because money's evil, and you just sin all the time. So you're basically an evil person, and you gotta let go of your own life. You gotta just die.
That part's true. But
It might be true, but who wants that?
And how do you discern what's true from not?
Like,
At that point?
and what does it mean to die? What does it actually mean to die? It actually means to live. So Christians are largely stuck in the first order consequence. But when you go to the gospel, the story of the gospel is not death. The story of the gospel is death, then life. But we don't get to life because we're so blocked up by religion. I'm not trying to go off on a rant right now. I'm just saying, like, I have judged the fruit of most people's lives who say they are believers, and I have found them lacking in all areas. The intellect, the wealth, the power, the authority, lacking. So why would anybody want that? People are like, well, it's not for you to judge. Actually, there are judges in the Old Testament, and we have the same level of authority in the New Testament. We don't have time to discuss that. But here's back to the original thing. When you study kinesiology, there's energy transfers that come in. I hope people are going to think I'm angry. I hope they don't.
I think you're onto something. It's because the problem feels so big you can't tackle it in 10 minutes.
I can't.
It would take you an entire lifetime to unravel this stuff, and it's why Jesus got what we see Jesus doing in the New Testament is he's unraveling so much garbage. Because you get to the end of Old Testament, you get to Malachi, and God's like, "Oh, you're doing all this stuff, but you lost the heart posture."
And so what do they call him? Blasphemer. They call Jesus blasphemer. So when I have Christians calling me blasphemers, I'm like, dude, let's do it again. Let's go. Because that's great.
Yeah.
That's actually what should probably be happening.
That anger is, and I'll say one more thing. The anger that's coming up is because you see a problem that's so big that's like you can't tackle it fast enough because it's like you can't get certain ideas through people's head. And usually that one idea that you just get through people's head is just like learn how to be a person who loves well.
Yeah, and loves Jesus and discern the scriptures. And by discern the scriptures, I don't mean discern the meaning of the Greek. Although that there's value in that. There's a lot of value. Like,
are you still learning Hebrew?
Dude, it's gonna take me like 10 years to learn Hebrew. It's like ass backwards. Like it's not even.
You have to like reread how to.
I'm learning
how to read.
So like Kate, my daughter, wants to learn Spanish.
Really?
Because Spanish is like, if you live in America, everyone speaks Spanish. Not everyone, but it's like a really helpful language to learn. Spanish still follows like the rules of language. Like you read left to right. There's like, pronouns and stuff. Hebrew is like
no,
right to left. And it's more like Mandarin than it is English. So it's going to take me a long time to answer this original question though. When energy is kind of a quantum term. Everything is energy. We're attracting this energy into our lives. The physical, as above, so below. But everything below is opposite of the above, which is why people don't get it. So this is why Jesus was teaching things that were opposite. Alex Seeley has a book called The Opposite Life. Jesus showed up on the scene and he was like, if someone asks you for a shirt, give him your coat too. If someone slaps you, let them slap you again. It was opposite. Because as above, so below, but below is opposite of above. So in energy, what happens is we're thinking about something where like this phone right here, we're just going to go off the deep end for 2 seconds. This is a cluster of densely connected energy molecules. And so what's happening is this is in the first heaven. This is the first heaven because it's physical, but it is actually sending data through the second heaven. And then the third heaven is the spiritual. So when we have something that is in the second heaven, which is the soul, the thoughts, the heart, the mind, the energy worlds, when we're thinking about something all the time, we're just creating a dense cluster of matter. Any density of matter in the second heaven is going to be replicated in the first heaven. So this is why if you think about something all of the time, you're creating density. It gets denser and denser and denser. And then eventually it's got to bleed into the physical, right? So what happens is we have these pockets in the spiritual worlds, in the energy worlds, that are strongholds that attract physical consequences or physical opportunities from that source code. Does this make sense? When you are holding unforgiveness, what you're doing is you're holding a giant beacon in the second plate, in the second heaven, that's attracting all of this negativity. When you let go of something, have you ever gotten a deep tissue massage?
Mm-hmm.
They break it up, it hurts, and then blood can move through. The meridian pathways are opened back up.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing in the area of the mind and the soul. So when you're getting sick, something happens, you forgive someone, it first of all releases you. It takes this clustering and it opens it up. Okay, that's the first part. The second part, there's a spiritual principle. When energy is coming at you and it's being deflected, it now goes back to where the energy was sent from in the first place.
Mm.
And this is a pretty well-known, like you can look at it in like ancient Jewish mysticism. They talk about this. But the point is, people have already started addressing this comment on Instagram, so you should go through and look through it. The point is, when you forgive someone, when you let go of what's causing it to stick,
mm-hmm.
what happens is that will be reversed off of you. It'll bounce off of you, and it'll trace back to the source.
Yeah. Can I give a second side to that?
Yeah.
Micah Turnbow talks about how the demons came from the giants who had a body. And he mentions that the giant or the demons will have a very specific desire to inflict pain on the human body. And we talk a lot about giving demons authority over you or giving them a chance. Do you think unforgiveness is one of those things?
It's a massive opening.
So it gives the demon power so the demon can attach to you, and then it has a legal right to inflict physical pain on you. And so what you're saying is just forgive that, get rid of it, and get rid of, basically you're breaking that authority if it's there.
Yeah, and that would be like, picture it like a door.
Mm-hmm.
You close the door and lock it. No one's getting through. They don't have, if you break down a door, then legally you're in trouble. If you open a door, legally you're not in
mm-hmm.
trouble. If the door is already open and you walk through it, then it's even more appropriate.
Yep.
So think about unforgiveness as like the door, you thought it was closed, but the door is actually cracked open. That's
mm-hmm.
unforgiveness. When you forgive, you're able to seal that up and shut it down.
Love it. That's good.
We good?
Yep.
How far in are we on this?
We are like 20 something minutes in.
Oh, we got so much time, bro.
Yeah, we're doing great.
All right. You want to talk about productivity?
Sure.
Let's start with your questions.
Well, you sure you want to?
Yeah.
I've got so many questions.
Yeah.
One, I think I'd want to start with like, when did you realize you needed productivity? Most people end up starting something when they're really good at something is because they were either really bad at it or came out of a place of like, oh, I just don't want to deal with this again. Where did you start? What was your starting point of like, were you always productive or
no?
Didn't you used to like, what was your lifestyle like before? What was the kind of person you were? How would you spend your weekends? How did you spend your time? How did you think about time? And then how and why did that change?
I mean, I was a loser.
What's a loser for you? How would you define that?
Just wasting all my life, pretty much. It is shocking that my wife agreed to marry me.
Yeah.
Shocking. When we met, I was touring. Mm-hmm. So I was a touring musician. When I was in town, I just did nothing. For a while, I was supplementing income as a waiter at a restaurant. Mm-hmm. We met in Springfield, Missouri. So my wife was like super productive. She was an entrepreneur. She ran a hair salon, and I just didn't do anything. I would go on tour. I would come back, and I would just sleep pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Like it was wild. That's why when I look at you, sometimes I'm like, man, when I was your age, I was doing nothing.
When you say nothing, what was nothing for you?
Like side gig here. Every once in a while I would work, but most of the time I would just watch TV. And I think when I was your age, there was this show on TV called Lost.
I feel like I know what that show is, but I'm not.
Hold on, we got to figure out when Lost was because that'll tell us. You know Dane, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it ended. The final episode was 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 7 seasons, so 2003 to 2010. So I graduated high school in 2007. And yeah, me and Dane and a couple of friends from Springfield, we would just watch Lost all day. Like the whole day.
Really?
Yeah, 6 hours.
Dang. Is that back when Netflix still was sending you DVDs?
Yeah, Netflix didn't. I think Netflix came on the scenes maybe in that 2006, 2005, 2006. So yeah, we would just order DVDs, watch them. Like, dude, we did nothing. And so I think my wife's biggest thing at the time was like, I'm not going to, we started dating in 2010. And her biggest thing, if you even ask her at the time, she was like, I'm not going to marry someone who just like watches TV all day. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So when I got into her, I started being like, oh, I need to do something with my life. That was probably the first time I was like, money's probably not a bad idea to have and to look towards. So then when we moved to, I moved to Memphis. We weren't married at the time. I moved from Springfield to Memphis. I took a staff job at a church, and I went from doing nothing to working like 70 hours a week like that. And it was literally a week. I went from years of just kind of having my own schedule and to like full-time 70 hours a week on staff at a church. And the burnout was extreme. So extreme that when we got married, man, like we got married and we went on our honeymoon, and dude, we didn't even like, I think, and maybe this is a little bit PG. So if you got kids watching this, maybe just pause it for a second. But we went on our honeymoon, and what are you supposed to do on your honeymoon?
Do it.
You're supposed to go for it. One time. The rest of it, I slept.
Because you were so burned
I
out.
was exhausted. I wasn't interested in anything. Like I wasn't. And that created wounds, because what does that tell your wife? She's like, what's wrong with me? It's like, no, it took us years to recover from that, because I was so burned out and so out of energy. I was so depleted that I just wasn't interested, you know? And it was a couple of months after that we went to Ruby Tuesdays. You ever been there? Free salad bar. We would go to town, man. I would just eat like croutons and lettuce because it was cheap. And she was like, hey, I think that it might be a good idea for you to not be on staff right now. And my first response was like, well, I don't want to go to hell, so no. That's how I was so religious.
Is that actually what you said?
Yeah, I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, that doesn't seem godly at all, you know? And she's like, actually, it could ruin our marriage if you stay in it. It's like, okay, this is serious. So then I went from there into real estate. And I'm telling you the whole context because it's important. Like, I didn't just get it. Like, I didn't watch it. There wasn't like a YouTube video to teach me how to do it.
Yeah.
It wasn't an overnight thing. But after the real estate, I started getting into marketing. And what I saw, like my business, like my freelance business, I remember sitting down with her at our apartment. It was like a rinky dink apartment. And I was like, babe, I think that, so you make like $15,000 a year. I make $18,000 a year, or 25 or something. And if I can just get your business to cover both of our salaries, then I'll just chill. This is a legitimate plan for me. I can go back to watching Lost. I'll help you build your business. You can work. And she was like, how about not? Like, that doesn't sound fair at all.
You wanted to retreat to comfort. She wanted to grow.
I wanted to go back to what it was before. And she was like, that's not what we talked about. That's not why I wanted you to come off staff just so you could sit at home all day. But that's where my goals, that was where I was mentally. Even after leaving the church staff world, even after being off staff for this point, 8 or 9 months, I still was, you don't just recharge energy, bro. Like, there's these reserves that you have.
Yeah.
And so I had been under fight or flight for like 18 months, and so much cortisol and so much stress and so much overwhelm that even 8 or 9 months afterwards, I was still kind of just like, I'm back to baseline, but I don't want to ever go back to working that hard again.
Were you in survival mode, or were you just
100%. We were in survival mode financially.
Gotcha.
Our intimacy was still in survival mode. Our whole life was still in survival mode. I was trapped in it. And it's not that the things that caused me to be in survival mode were no longer there. But here I was still addicted to survival mode. You see what I'm saying?
And it took Lindsay like a catalyst to like basically say, hey, this isn't going to survive for
Over
you to
and
step
over.
up.
Like she was like the same. It wasn't just one conversation. It was like many conversations, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause that can be a rough state to try to get out of on your own.
Yeah. And when you're that poor, I would rather be, I was trying to make the decision as a dichotomy. This is important. I could either be poor and have some energy, or I can get us out of poverty and have no energy. It was a either or, pick one. And that's really dangerous.
Yeah.
Because you should be able to have both. And we're talking about productivity. This is the long story, the long way through.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward a couple of months, I started making money, really good money.
How did you get to that point? How did you even like what was step one of stepping out of that season of like just pure survival? What was step one?
I just was like, my wife needs me to work, so I'm just going to take care of what she needs.
How did you get through that mental state? Well, like I know I know it's not a super complex answer, but like, did you just like kind of rally through? You were like, I'm still burned out. I'm still going to keep going. Like, what were you telling yourself?
No, it was like my wife, me and Lindsay are having conversations, and I can see that she's like, feels like she's carrying things by herself. I want to go back to what we had before, which is not possible because we weren't married then. And I had no responsibilities then. And in my head, I think it was just like, this is what we need to do. And if I can get us to the next level, then maybe I can back off a little bit. My brain doesn't work. My brain is we talk a lot about nuance and balance and both ands, but my brain, especially like when you get into a room with me, you've felt this a million times. I am still all in. Once I make the decision,
yep.
If I'm hanging on to something, you're gonna have to sever that at the wrist, like a pit bull's mouth. Like he just doesn't let go.
Yep.
So I think I just crossed over that, and I was like, "This is come hell or high water. Like we're going to do this, and I'm going to make sure that the context here is." If we have time, I'll give you some more context.
I would say go there.
Okay.
I think, and I'm going to say this because I have seen how much I've had to change in the past 2 months.
Yeah.
As a result of having another person in my life.
Oh, you have no idea, bro. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, I have way more to go.
More change.
But I've seen changes in me that I've been like, you know what? I have not had this catalyst.
Yeah.
But it's felt easy.
Yeah.
I've been like, oh, I'm all in. I'm not tired. I can go for days. You want me to go for years? Okay, cool. Like there's just something snapped. I haven't had the chance to process it yet. I'm still in the middle of it. But you have. So I'm curious.
Okay. Some of this will be processing out loud.
Cool.
Because I have different notes, but this is good. This is a good tangent to go on. There was a lot of me and Lindsay, we didn't get the quintessential, I asked her dad is like, I love you, go for it, I bless you. Because you're supposed to like ask the parent for their blessing. There was complication in it. Her dad grew up as a musician. He played drums, and he was extremely poor when he was a musician. And he eventually went into medical school, and he became a doctor, and he got up to where he needed to be. Her dad, we're great now, but at the time, her dad was like, no, you're broke. I'm not going to bless the marriage of my daughter to someone who doesn't make any money. And I think he also didn't believe that I would ever have the ability to do that, because my personality was, like I said, like, I'm going to watch Lost all day. I'm just going to do nothing. That's who he saw. And so the last thing for Kate, for example, if some homeless dude walks up to the house and asks 10, 15 years from now, would you bless me, Mary? I'd be like, I don't think so. Like, let's get you fixed first, because I don't think that's what she wants, And so they were living in Texas at the time. We had been dating for a while. And I was like, we need to talk to your dad because I'm going to propose to you. And she really wanted her dad's blessing.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Like, unless you have a broken relationship with your parents, like you would want that.
Yep.
And I was like, I just think he's going to say no. And she's like, well, we at least can ask and we'll just pray for it. So we go down, we spend a couple of days, and me and her dad go out to coffee, you can tell he knows what's coming. And I say basically like, I love your daughter and I would love to spend the rest of my life with her. And he says, well, if I tell you no, are you going to do it anyways? And I said, absolutely. I don't know if that was the right thing to say or not. But once again, you got my personality in the mix. And so I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm going to do it whether you want us to or not. And that was hard. And he didn't like it. And her family didn't like it. And it was bad, man. Like we didn't have his blessing. And so we're both very kind of religious still. And so we're like, can we even get married? Are we even allowed to get married? Like you would have the same thing going on where it's like, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't what she wanted. And one of the things that I told her dad, I was like, I'll work 5 jobs if I have to, because I knew what the issue was. And he straight up told me, he's like, you're broke. So at this point, when Lindsay's like having this conversation with me 3 years later, there's so much, my reasons were so high because I just had made the commitment. Like, I'm not going to let us.
Yeah. You knew your heart posture, but someone else didn't.
Yes. And I'd also sort of like gone out on a limb and been like, A of all, I'm going to do it anyways. B of all, you're incorrect. I'll work as hard as I need to make it work. Mm-hmm. And so 3 years later, I'm like, dude, this is not happening. Like, I'm not going to, we're not asking her parents for money. We're not asking my parents for money. Like, no. Mm-hmm. Even, dude, we even had a conversation. Me and my mom had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about something, because I don't remember how it came up. I think it was a video or something. And my mom mentioned it, and I was on the phone with her, and I was like, Mom, don't you remember when we would like come over to go to, like, I think we went to Carrabba's, this Italian restaurant. So don't you remember when we would come over and eat dinner with you? And she's like, yeah. I said, well, we loved hanging out with you, but the real reason we came out was because we couldn't afford to eat. And so we would come eat with you. And if you remember, we would not eat our whole food. We would take it home. That's so we could eat tomorrow.
Oh man.
And she's like, why didn't you ask? We could have, she's like, we would have bought you groceries or something. And I was like, it's not in my nature. Like, it's not in my nature to do that. I don't ask, because I had so many commitments internally. And so even in like, now when you fast forward, you look at like my posture with sales training, and we talk to people all the time, and they're in the same position where it's like they have so many things that are broken that they need to fix. But you can tell the people who are like me, who are like, dude, I will die trying. I'll never quit. And then you can tell the people who are just looking for handouts and cop-outs. And so I can spot the difference now, because I remember being in that season. And so I just flipped the switch, and I was like, we're going to go for it. And for 14 months, I woke up at like 4:30. I would go to a Starbucks. I taught myself how to code. I would do my day job at the real estate company. I would go to another Starbucks. I would go home, pick up some food. I would go to another Starbucks, and I was putting myself through college. At the time, I was like, if I can just finish my degree, that'll help. And then degrees are worthless. So there's literally no point in having a degree. I figured that out 2 years in, unless you're a doctor or a lawyer or something where you actually need a degree. But you don't need these stupid, like, you know, there's so many different degrees that are just liberal arts degrees. It's a waste of time. Like, don't even go to college if that's what you're doing. And I got it to work like 6 months in, and we started making money. And then 8 months, and we started making money. And then I just pendulum swung deeper, because I then connected. If I never want to go back to breaking my promise with her dad and to her, then I could just put the foot on the gas. And we talked about this on the last episode of like, the only way for me to not ever have to go back, I'll work 100 hours a week because I'm trained to do that. If I'm going to work 100 hours a week making 30,000, or work 100 hours a week making 30,000 a day, I'd rather make 30,000 a day. And it took me years to then get out of that grind. And what then caused me to get out of that grind is my daughter being born. This is 9 years later, 8 years later. So I spent like 7, 8, 9 years in that. One day my daughter walks in, she's 3 at the time, and she's like, hey, you said you would ride bikes with me. And I'm like, I can't, sorry, I'm busy. And then we don't go, I'm supposed to take her in to get donuts and we don't. And she just basically tells her mom that she doesn't want to talk to me anymore. That's what kicked me. I was like, well, maybe it's not the right thing. I've got to figure something out. And so that's my take on productivity and on achievement in general. You can see that there's 20 years of data feeding into an algorithm. And what I want to teach is like, this is the sharpest philosophy for achievement and progress I think that exists. It's based in scripture, but it's proven and vetted in being able to have both. And you want your family and you want to have wealth. This is the playbook. You want to be able to have good relationships that are healthy and be able to invest into your business and your progress. This is the playbook for it. If you want the pendulum swing, then you can follow all the gurus online. But watch this. Never take the advice of someone who does not have the life you want. You can't piecemeal and fractionalize out things because every principle is a human nervous system. It ties into other principles. So I see a lot of people right now who are like taking productivity advice from someone. They don't have a family, they don't have any kids, they don't have any other priorities in their life. And if you take that too far, you're just going to replicate their life. You got kids now, you want to lose them, follow their advice. You've got a good spouse right now, you want to lose it, follow that advice. And so you have to be careful. And this is why you have to sort of test the consumption of education that you're pulling in. If they don't have the life you want to live, put up some yellow flags and make sure you really vet it. That's the context behind it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it seems like the lesson that you were getting from that is that Lindsay just said like, hey, I want basic stuff. The basics aren't covered. And so that pendulum swing led to, okay, she wants me to work like crazy and she wants tons of money. That's not really what she was saying, but do you feel like you took it to more of an extreme?
Not because she just didn't want to do it herself. She didn't want to do it. She still works today. Like she just didn't want to be the funding device that allowed me to binge my TV addiction.
Cool. Yeah. Love that. Great. That's
what other questions do you have?
When it comes to starting with your routines, I feel like one of the hardest things for me, and I know this is something that you and I talk about, especially when it comes to music, is like, I think when it comes to scheduling, it's hard for me to like compartmentalize the nuances of friends when people need me. I really value being a really good friend.
You do.
I will drop anything if I need to, if someone needs help. I also want to have time for music, and I feel a lot of guilt around doing hobbies, things I enjoy. I think that I just haven't really processed the things that fill me up and actually feeling like I'm allowed to put them on my calendar because they're fun. I would love to know your thoughts on like how you compartmentalize those things, how those things feed each other, what it looks like to put it into your schedule. What are the critical conversations that you need to have with your spouse or the people involved in your life to do those things properly? And I know that's constantly a work in progress. But I think there's definitely some foundational things I'm sure that you and friends of yours have learned as well along the way.
Yeah, for me, it's about the priority. My hierarchy is explicit and it doesn't change. I just had this conversation with a really good friend a couple of days ago. They're getting married. He's not married yet. They want to have kids. And he's like an all-in friend. Actually, there's two friends that I have right now that are both kind of all in. And by all in, I think it's a great thing. But if one friend is all in and the other can't be, then for the one who can't be, it becomes an obligation.
Yep. Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So what the conversation kind of sounded like this, where it's like, look, I want to hang out with you, but there are other priorities that are ahead of you. And I'm just going to be real honest with you. Like, you're really important to me, but you're not as important to me as my kids or my wife. And right now in this season, my business is pretty high maintenance, the stuff I'm doing. So me not being able to come to this thing doesn't mean I don't want to be friends with you. But if you feel like that means I don't want to be friends with you, then I can't be friends with you.
Wow.
Because then you put me into a place where like our energy is now transactional and it's obligatory. That's not real friendship. Real friendship is being able to see the other person and be like, this is what he needs. This is what she needs right now. and you support that. And if you don't support my commitment to my family over you, then we need some distance. And that conversation went great. They understood.
Yeah.
Most people will understand.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't understand, then they're manipulative as hell, and get them out of your life. They're not a real friend. Social dynamics are hard to put into like a framework. But you have, I have some people who want to be friends with me because of what I can do for them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be friends with those people.
Yep.
I don't have any time for agendas. I don't have any time for you counting and keeping score of how many things I show up to. Man, I don't got time. I'm not 12. Like, I don't have time for you. But then for the friends who get it, and in fact, this happens frequently where someone will have, like, I'm friends with someone, they'll have kids, and then they'll apologize to me because they're like, now I get it.
Mm.
And so I don't want to just be quick to cut someone out. What people do sometimes that is wrong is they don't want to address it, so they'll just cut them out because they're lazy and they're immature. What I want to do is I want to at least do my best to bring some sense of explanation as to why this is happening. And if they're good with it, great. If they're not good with it, they're not a real friend.
Mm.
You know, for you, it's going to be the same thing, but you have to really watch out for obligation. Obligation is an energy that comes from people.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're feeling obligated around a certain person, they probably have a little bit of a manipulative spirit around them anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And you address it. This is not okay. This feeling that's going on between us isn't appropriate because I ain't married to you, dude. So like, if you got this way, actually, you did.
I did
One time.
I told you that
I
one
forgot
time.
about that.
Yeah.
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 Do you want to share that conversation?
What part? Like, what part do you want me to go into?
I don't know. I literally just remembered about it.
I got really offended with you after 3 months of not bringing up problems that we had.
Yep.
As friends, I would say as friends / partners, it was hard to figure out how, as business partners, it was hard to find those lines.
Yeah.
And there was a part of me that got really frustrated because I felt like at the time, I didn't feel like you were actually in my corner, and I didn't feel like you gave two craps about me. That's really how I felt in that moment. And I did compare it to a marriage because I was very emotional. I was very upset.
Yeah.
And you basically just called it out, and you're like, no, dude, I'm actually not married to you. Like, and the point you were making is like, it's not my job to regulate you. It's your job to regulate you, which is always more frustrating for a person because it means no one likes to take responsibility. So that was the lesson I ended up getting, was like, oh, I am actually responsible for me. I need to take care of me. The Lord is my father. I've got the helper. I've already got those things. So I should be using that. And you're like, if I'm going to use that, you should too. I am not your helper. God's your helper. You come talk to me when you're ready. That was the lesson I got from it.
Yeah. It was probably more, it was a little less hostile than that, but yeah,
For
I don't
sure.
think, yeah.
I mean, you did have to, yeah, that was a fun conversation, but I think it was probably, I would probably say top 2, maybe most pivotal conversations for us. Cause I think that after that, it was like anything that bothered me, I'd just bring it up and I'd be able to process it with you. Cause you didn't have a problem with me getting hurt by certain things or bring up things. It was just that if I didn't, then that's basically how you become an atheist, is you get so many things you're upset with God, you don't talk to him about, that you just don't talk to him at all.
Yeah.
That's what we almost did.
Yeah.
So
the playbook is something, somewhere, somehow, you're going to let it down.
Mm-hmm.
Someone, somewhere, somehow, you're going to let them down. Something, somewhere, somehow, you're going to have to let burn up. Productivity and achievement, the way that I do it is I have to pick which things are in the right order.
Mm.
So if there's no such thing as 100% all the places all the time. So here's what I know. I'm not ever letting me burn up. So people think that it's like God, family, you. No, it's like God, me, Lindsay, kids, important commitments that I've made, which the business would be included in that.
Mm-hmm. And
then relationships are there's a hierarchy underneath that.
Yep.
So yeah, I have no problem with a friend getting offended. It's great because it means I'm doing my job somewhere else, probably. But aren't you glad that I didn't just cut you out
Yeah.
and I addressed it with you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like, just be willing to have those conversations. And if somebody doesn't handle it well, they're probably not a good relationship like you think they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably got some other issues going on. That said, there's a way to organize your life in such a way that you can get the best of in all the different categories that you need to. So let's go through that real fast. The way that I organize right now, and I teach clients to do this and partners to do this, it's I just call it a weekly map. It's my GPS, so to speak, on where my time needs to go and how I get it all done. Because I'm in 5 companies right now, and if you look at the derivatives of all of that, there's probably 100 staff and 500 or 600 clients and a couple hundred reps, and like it's big.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not over everything. I've learned how to put myself. The old portfolio, I was over everything, sort of at the same time. I've learned how to put myself based on fractionalized ownership, my ownership percentages, the equity relationships. Like I'm more higher level at this point, but there's still a lot that gets done. So if you want to put this up on the screen, we can go through this. I would screenshot this because this is just a very basic overview of my week and how my weeks go together. You want me to take people through this real fast?
Yes, and I would love to know the adjustments you've made, why you've adjusted them. I think I just want to point something out that I notice a lot about productivity that drives me crazy personally. People will show me a thing like this and be like, this is the way you have to do it. I don't think that that's you, and I know you well enough that your schedule will sometimes change every 3 weeks.
It changes. It usually changes. It's got a big change every quarter.
So I'd love to, as you're going through this, I'd love to also hear like your thought process, why you changed it, when you changed it, those types of things would be great.
Okay, cool. I'll take you through it, then we'll take you through changes. The first thing is I do have a clustering of, like, some people try to put all their meetings on one day. If I put all my meetings on Monday, then Tuesday I'm quitting. Like, period. So it doesn't work for my personality. It does work for other personalities, but my personality is I'm introverted. I don't have a lot of energy for like social dynamics. Introversion and emotional intelligence are not the same thing. So people watching this, you're like, I think I'm both. No, you're not. There's really no such thing, because what you're really saying is you're probably introverted with high emotional intelligence. Then you think you're both.
Interesting.
It doesn't work that way. When you're extroverted, here's the difference. For me, if I go to a meeting or a party, let's say we go to a party, we're having the best time ever. It's a great party, and it's 2 hours long.
Yeah.
Right? There's some margaritas and good people, good times. And I'm just like, oh, this is great. I'm locked in. When I get in my car and I close the door, I feel relief. So that means you're an introvert. When you're like by yourself, you're like, oh, that was a good time, but I'm ready to go to bed. You're an introverted. When you leave a social situation, if your energy goes up when you're leaving, you're an introvert. An extrovert.
Sorry, go ahead.
An extrovert will get in their car, close the door, and their energy will go down. So they're like, man, I wish it was longer. We should do that again tomorrow. Or they just won't leave in the first place. Like they'll just stay at the party until no one else is left. They are drawn to social situations because that's what fills them up. They're filled up with people. So I'm obviously great with people. Like my emotional intelligence is high. Like I'm not standing in the corner afraid to talk to people. But when I leave, I'm like, yes, I did it, and now I can go to bed, or I can go read. Like I just want to sit and read. So most of the times, the best week that you could put together is like I see humans once, and then the rest I'm like reading biographies and stuff. I feel happier when I'm by myself.
I feel like I don't identify with either one of those. I'm very much the type of, I hate the big environments because I don't feel like I can connect or have like a real meaningful conversation. I hate feeling like I'm wasting time talking about stupid stuff.
You are an extrovert. You're an extrovert. Because I have your data, actually, so I know that you're an extrovert.
That is true.
You're an extrovert because you get a lot of energy from being around people, especially the people that you're close to.
Mainly people.
Not a lot of people.
Yeah.
It doesn't, but this is the thing. This is why I'm saying this. Like, just because you don't like to be in big rooms of people doesn't mean you're not an extrovert. You'll go to dinner with a group of 4 people every day.
Maybe. Not always. That can be really stressful.
I've seen you do it.
Yeah, you just probably seen me do it. Doesn't mean it's always like amazing.
Never in my life have I gone to dinner with a group of people every day. Ever. Because I would physically die. It's not possible for me. I wouldn't be able to do it. So you're an extrovert. I'm an introvert. And if I stack all my meetings on a Monday, then by the time Tuesday comes around, I cannot see anything. I can't think. So I scatter mine. You can see it on the screen. I scatter mine. I wake up early because I think this is interesting. If you study your like chronotype, you can go online and just search like chronotype tests. You can take a test that tells you your chronotype. The chronotype means like, do you have more energy in the mornings? Do you have more energy in the evenings? I'm a musician. I turn on at 9 o'clock. If I stay up past 9:30, I'm awake till midnight. I have the best ideas in the world at midnight. But I have kids, so I don't have I got to get up early, because if I don't get up early, I have no alone time. So you have a lot more freedom if you don't have other responsibilities, but I wake up early. I don't think everyone has to wake up early. I don't think it has any bearing on your success as a person, what time you wake up in the morning. But when I wake up in the morning for the first 30 or 40 minutes, I'm usually like not very happy to be alive because it's so early. But then once I wake up, I've got alone time. I'm happy. So we wake up, me and my wife, we bought a cold plunge. We get in the cold plunge at like 5:10 in the morning. It's the most excruciating thing you could do in your life, but it wakes me up and I need to be awake. I spend the first 30 minutes of every day. My first cup of coffee is usually with the Bible. I'm praying. I sit in here, man. I sit in here and I pray and I ask God to teach me things and to share his secrets with me. And sometimes I skip this because I get into self-reliance. In fact, one of the most interesting things I've ever done is there's a really good friend of mine who's very busy as well. And we started meeting every week on Fridays. And what we do is we just share confessions. This is not like, hey man, I cheated on my wife this week. That we're beyond that. I know I'm meeting with them on Friday. And so I'm aware during the week of where in my heart I am getting off. Like I'm sinning in the small areas. And so last week we met and my confession was Monday afternoon, something happened. I slipped into self-awareness. I didn't catch it until Thursday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I skipped my time with God and I basically just worked through it. So 5:30, I'm in here with coffee. I'm not talking to Holy Spirit. You picture like Jesus just standing in the corner waiting. I don't have time for it. And that was my confession. And this is actually just when I spend that time with Jesus in the morning, my day just goes better. And when I don't, my day goes worse. Yeah. You think we would figure it out, but we don't, because it's just a spiritual assignment.
Yep.
Yeah. Then I go to the gym. I've experimented with this a lot. I love working out in the afternoons, but I skip them because I got meetings and people will call me. And so even for us, we tried to work out like one week and I was like, I'm late every time. Just because I can't get out of stuff. So I go in the morning, first thing, nobody can bother me. I get that out of the way. I come back, I do some reading, some writing, get some coffee. I love to trade. So I'm like, that's the video game of my life right now. We were talking about this with the group of clients last night. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the online space, they're adrenaline junkies. So what they'll do is they run their business and then they go hella skiing or mountain biking. Like Joey Sapanic, that dude is like, he's the happiest when he could die.
Yeah.
Greg Hickman, Dan Martell. Like Dan is like constantly trying to kill himself on a mountain somewhere. And for me, I'm like, I just don't get into those things, but I trade, which is basically the same thing. So every morning at 8:30, I could die, but I don't. That's my adrenaline rush. Then I've got a sales meeting. I do a mindset call. I do some writing. I eat some lunch. I've got a one-on-one. I've got every 2 weeks I have a meeting, or if I'm not on that meeting, I write. I've got a one-on-one, then I write. That's Monday. Monday's done. I'm done at 5:30-ish. and then I'm in the sauna, and I try to be in bed by 9 o'clock. If I don't go to bed at 9 o'clock, I have a problem because I'll go to bed at 11, and then it hurts the next morning. So my ability to start the next morning starts when I go to bed.
Gotcha.
Yep. And then, yeah, you just go through this, and the color coordination is just like the blue is kind of me time. The purple is like maintenance. Anything that is orange is usually with other people. So it's like either a presentation, I'm helping clients. Anything red is a meeting with a person on any of my teams. And anything bright yellow is production. So I count production hours per week.
Gotcha. That's good. Are we going to go into later how you plan weeks? Are you going into that in this episode, or do you want to do separate?
I don't think so, because that would take us probably another 45 minutes to get through. We do have a product. If you go to, I think, where's this product at? I think it's a Wealthy Consultant. If you go to wealthyconsultant.com, there's a button somewhere on the menu that will take you to the product suite. Search for Peak Productivity. And Peak Productivity walks you through how I plan the weeks and the months and the quarters.
Gotcha.
And it's like 3 or 4 hours of content. We just don't have time to get on it here.
Cool. I'll put that link in the show notes for you guys. You guys can check that out.
Yeah, cool. This map allows you to put in free space that you need, and you can sort of match your calendar, like a Google Calendar or an Apple Calendar, to this map and just try to make them align. My adherence to this map is probably 80%. That's important because there's no such thing as 100%. Stuff comes up, emergencies come up. If I'm traveling, this gets destroyed. It's just murdered if I'm traveling. So there's no way you're going to be at 100%. So give yourself a little bit of like elasticity, and don't hold yourself to 100% standard with it. But if I get the most important things done before 8:30, then the rest of my day is pretty good because I've already been productive on what's most important. I've filled myself up. I've trained and exercised. And so the hardest things of my day are done. Everything else is a little bit easier to keep. If I miss the morning, then it creates psychographic resistance the rest of the day. There's a psychological tax because we cannot do things well if we're not proud of ourselves. And so if you're not proud of yourself, you're taking just body shots to yourself from a self-esteem standpoint, because the things you said you were going to do, you didn't do them. So beware that. Like, don't go in here and be like, here's my map. I'm going to wake up at 3 a.m. And it's like, well, you're never going to wake up at 3 a.m. So every day you're going to start with a body shot to your self-esteem. You don't want to live that way. So put something on here that is at least it can be accomplished. It's achievable, you know? Or else you're setting yourself up to just feel like a failure.
Yeah. How do you, so you're a dad of 2 kids?
2. Yep. 5-year-old, 1-year-old.
And you've got a wife. So I'm really curious on how you're going to cover like how you are making sure you have the time for spontaneity if you need it, like with kids, like that's not always easy. I'm curious on some of your thoughts on that as well as we go.
Well, there's not a lot in here after 5:30. So there's no way I could plan after 5:30. The other day I came home and it was like 5:15. I came home and Harrison is running from Kate. She thinks he's playing chase. He's terrified. I saw his face. He was running from the living room. So he's not having fun. He's screaming. She thinks he's screaming, laughing. So she finally catches him, knocks him over, and Lindsay's like trying to wrap up for the day. And it's just like you walk into an instant circus. So there's no way that I can plan anything after 5:30.
Gotcha.
I fix Harrison. I think this was like a Tuesday night last week. I get Harrison fixed where he's not scared of his big sister. And then they play for like 10 minutes. Then Harrison steals a toy. Kate has a full meltdown. I have to go fix that. Then I take him up. We watch a show. She watches, I think, A Bug's Life or something. Lindsay comes up. She takes over. I go down, clean up the kitchen. It's just a tag team, but like that's why there's nothing planned after 5:30. And then the weekends are obviously blocked off. So me and Kate, we do a daddy-daughter date. Right now, we do those on Sunday nights. It's just not in here because you talk about spontaneity. A couple weeks ago, she didn't want to do a daddy-daughter date on Sunday night. She wanted to go get donuts Saturday morning. So we moved it to Saturday morning. So there's all family life. You're not going to be able to, the system has to not break if there's something that changes. If the system breaks the first time something changes, it's not a good system. So that this system accommodates for having chaos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we do have weekly date night on Wednesdays. I don't ever move that unless it's a really big deal. So that's pretty much like a once a week. It's always on Wednesdays. She plans around it. I plan around it. And we keep that schedule and we sync up. And then me and Lindsay also do I'm teaching this on Friday actually, because our event on Friday is how to build a great business and a great family. So as parents who are entrepreneurs, we have someone who's presenting who's a single mother, because that's a different game. Like you're the mom and the dad at the same time. We have two people who are presenting who are split families. So she got married, inherits his stepkids. Well, she's a mom. She's got kids. That's a different game. It's a different system. It's got different complexities. My dad is presenting. I'm presenting. And one of the things I'm teaching Friday is me and Linz have a weekly review now. So we have a form. She fills it out. I fill it out. It comes to both of us. And then Saturday night, we talk about it. And I'll take you through... So the questions are really easy. Like, what are 3 things that you're proud of from the week? What one thing did you learn about your spouse this week? What's one thing your spouse did really well and you would like to see more of this week? And so it's a way for us to communicate with each other in a way that we can sort of track it. She rates me every week. I rate her every week on 2 different areas. And so when we talk about it, what we find is that a lot of times our ratings are very different. So she'll rate me as like an 8 out of 10 one week. I'll rate me as a 3 out of 10. Well, what does that teach me? Well, it means that I did a really good job on like my familial duties, but I didn't do a great job on what the business was. And so it's this priority system that's going back and forth every week. And I'm trying to stay connected with her on what really matters to her, because she doesn't really care if we have a big lunch and we crush it, team's doing well. Like she cares, she likes it. She's glad that I'm happy. But if we crush it in business and she rates me a 2 out of 10, well, I have a problem. That problem has to be fixed immediately. And so we can communicate with each other in a format that is not emotional. You know, we're not like sitting and she's like, you weren't here this week. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I had a lunch. Like, and then we argue about it. So she's putting it in notes and I get to read those notes and then we talk about them. And so that keeps us really synced up. That's a great idea for people to do.
That's good. Very interesting.
Yeah. 100%. From a philosophical standpoint, how much time do we have?
We're good. I would say this is a good episode to go long on.
Okay.
For sure.
From a philosophical standpoint, let's switch gears for a second, because the world in the 80s became largely obsessed with productivity. Get things done came out. There's all these productivity systems and all this stuff. But I think that if the enemy can't get me to cheat on my spouse with another woman, then he'll pivot and he'll get me to cheat on my spouse with my calendar. If he can't get you to blatantly sin, steal money, or lie under oath or something crazy, then what he'll do is he'll try to get you to compromise. Now, sin and compromise are different things. We're all sort of aware of like, what is a blatant sin? You know, like we would probably not fall for the temptation of sleeping around while loving Jesus and going to church on Sundays, but we can compromise in our small, like we can look at someone and have lustful thoughts and not catch them. We can skip time with Jesus and not catch it. We can say that our spouse or our family is important to us, but not spend any time with them and we won't catch it. So the strategy of the enemy is really not one of trying to get you to sin. It's trying to get you to build a bankroll of compromises that turn into sin.
Mm.
Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Busyness is like one of the big holdouts, I think, of especially an American generation, because when you are so busy, you miss the signals that you would otherwise catch. And the reason we're so busy is because we're so adamant about building the societal status of being successful that we miss what it really means to be successful. My definition at the end of my life of a good life is the people that are closest to me respected me the most. It's not what people think on social media. It's not whether people think I have a lot of money. It's not how many cars I had, although it's not a dichotomy either. I've had great cars. I'll have way more cars. I've got a lot of money. I've got a great house. Like, I'm successful by the world's standards, but I don't care as much. I want people who are closest to me to respect me the most, which means there's got to be time inside of my schedule to be around them and to show up for them. I read this quote and I thought that it was fascinating, and we're switching gears because the tactical stuff can only take you so far. Now we have to switch gears into the philosophy piece of it. So this is from a guy named Mark Buchanan. I'm going to read you the story real fast. One day, Grandma was in her backyard polishing a large stone. It was a boulder that sat next to her garden, too big to move. It was one of those stones that was round and smooth. It was trampled on by eons of wind and ice and water, thickly embedded with glittery chunks of mineral. She was polishing it with sandpaper. Her logic was that since she couldn't get rid of the thing, maybe she could beautify it and try to remove the dullness on its surface and hone it into a lustrous sheen. You get it? Okay. She was polishing, and she was going to make it the centerpiece of her garden. But she got way more than that. As she sanded it, she noticed a thin sifting of gold gathering on the stone. She pressed the moist tip of her finger into it and pulled up a cacking of gold dust. Her heart raced. She sanded faster, leaning her whole body into it, and more gold appeared. Now she was scrubbing that rock if it were a blood stain, with strong, sweeping strokes, bone and sinew bent into the work. Gold accumulated rapidly. She caught the virus in one swoop. She understood with perfect instinct that all this time she dismissed the stone as nonsense. But if she could get the gold out of it, she was going to be rich. She stopped a moment to wipe her brow and to rest, and that's when she noticed that something was wrong with her wedding ring. It was thin. She had nearly sanded her wedding ring clean off. All of that gold was merely fillings. It was the remnants of her heirloom. It was her treasure, reduced to dust. It was fool's gold. I laughed the first time my wife told me this story, but only the first time. After that, it made me sad. Sad for its own sake and for the coveting naivety of a generation bent on busyness. But it's also sad because of how much of my own life I've repeated this again and again. Grandma's mistake. I've squandered treasures in pursuit of dust. I've eroded precious, irreplaceable things in my efforts to extract something that's not actually there.
Wow.
So you get the story. The gold is not in the stone. It's her wedding ring that she's standing away. She thinks it's in the stone. And this is a picture of, I think, our culture. We want the golds. But there is no golds in status and worldly achievement, really. What we have is we just have a reallocation of the gold we already possessed that's being shaved away, and it sort of glitters on the things that we're trying. We can convince ourselves that if we just get our business to the next level, then we can chill out. If we can just get the investment account to a level, then we can settle down. But the gold's not in the investment account, and the gold's not in the business, and the gold's not in the wealth. The gold is actually in the moments and the relationships that we sort of squandered on the way to get to somewhere. And this is why people at the end of their life, they regret that they spent so much time on things. This is another quote by a different person, Henry Nouwen. He said, "My whole life, I've been complaining that my work was constantly interrupted until I discovered that the interruptions were the actual work. this is it.
Mm.
This is it. Like when you wake up in the morning, you have been given a whole new 24 hours to make sure that you do something that you're going to be proud of in the future. And this is what happened to me. Like I woke up one day and I'd built this empire. But when your kid doesn't want to talk to you, the empire doesn't mean that much unless you justify it. And this is what happened. You justify it and you're like, well, I did it for a good reason. And then you lose the things that you wish you could get back. You wish you could go back, but the time is memorialized. It's stamped. We don't get it again. We can't go back and uncover it. We can't do it different. And I think that my instruction when we talk about achievement and productivity and accomplishing big things is the biggest accomplishment you could ever have is to end your life being proud of how you spent your time. Yeah, I want to help millions of people, bro. Like, bring it on.
Mm-hmm.
I want to unlock wealth for generations who have been stuck in a generational trajectory of poverty. I want to go into places that no one else can go, and I want to change the way that human beings interact with one another. But if that ever becomes a replacement for the things that have already been entrusted to me that I'm stewarding right now, then I've failed. I've failed the mission. And so this brings back the earlier philosophy of like something, somewhere, somehow is going to get the back burner. Productivity, godly productivity, is about you assigning the right value to the right things and making sure your hierarchy is appropriate and making sure you have a priority of this is never going to lose. This is never going to lose. What loses first, that's your job to put in the right order at the bottom.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
It does. That's good.
I could end there, but let's hit any questions that you have.
Well, I still have questions like around. So for somebody like me, I love having fun. I love going and doing fun things. Schedules like this actually kind of freak me out. Maybe it's just the stage of life I'm in. But when I look at schedules like that, if I were to build my week out like that, having that type of structure, I hate it. I feel like my brain doesn't work well like that. I like being able to have a lot more autonomy. I like to have fun kind of spontaneously. I like to have the ability to go travel without feeling like I'm breaking all sorts of stuff. But then you start getting into you're breaking commitments that you made with yourself. And so I feel like if I probably spent more time thinking on this, I'd probably answer my own question. But you're looking at me like, yeah, you know. So I wonder how your personality works with that in terms of the things that I don't like. What I think is fun for you and fun for me are different things. Because you and I don't really hang out a lot as friends doing fun things. Like you're not going to come with me on a longboard ride going 25 miles an hour in the middle of Nashville. You're not going to do that. You have different things. How do you think about structuring fun and hobbies and like what people would call living life?
I mean, I would do it if it was on a Saturday.
Yeah.
You just your map's not going to look like mine.
Gotcha.
Because we're different. So you build your map for you and you put room in there for the things that you feel like make you feel alive. Like if you like spontaneity, okay, well then you have certain days of the week where you just have no plans. And then if you want to change those days, change them in a month. But zero adherence to any system ever is kind of how you go homeless. Mm-hmm. Like that's how you don't accomplish anything. Like you wouldn't even be happy if you did that. Mm-hmm. Too much spontaneity just makes you feel crazy. Too much routine will make you feel crazy. So you have this spectrum in the middle, and you just have to find where your spectrum is. You might need more spontaneity than me. You might need that. Once you have kids, you might like it but not have room for it. It depends on your season of life. And my season of life right now is I've got some room for spontaneity, but I have commitments to my stakeholders and I have commitments to my team and I have commitments to like my wife, and I make sure that I get as much of them as I can as I need to.
What would be your advice to people that a lot of people are not entrepreneurs? They don't always have control of their schedule. They get on like a Saturday night and that's how their whole rest of their next week goes. Using this system, what would be some advice you would give to people who are on other schedules that they're not making themselves?
Yeah, you have a work block from 8:30 to 11, and then you have lunch, and then you have a work block from 12 to 4:30, and then you fill in the rest of it. It's the same thing.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm going to have more colors in mine, which is pretty, but it's only because I have more obligations. I have more, you don't have to be an entrepreneur to use a system, but you do have to have some sort of plan. If you don't have any sort of plan, then what'll happen is 5 years you'll wake up from now, you're kind of in the same place. If your philosophy is really good, you'll still advance because you're making the right decisions on instinct in the moment. But if you have no plan, then you're just sort of planning to just be at the whims of other people. You don't know when to say no. You don't know when to say yes. You don't know, you have no metering in like this, I need more of this, or I need less of this. So this is like my 9th or 10th map in the past 2 years. I'm super comfortable with changing it.
What are your qualifications for changing it, and how often do you normally change it?
My qualification, as soon as it's no longer working.
What does that mean?
It's not working. I'm either I'm not honoring it. I'm not hitting it. It's not working.
When do you tell yourself like, hey, I am just being a weak human being and I'm like not stepping up? How are you balancing that?
If I'm missing something that's easy, that's I'm being a loser. If I'm not waking up on time because I won't go to bed on time, then I have an adherence issue. It's a discipline issue. It's like I'm not motivated enough to hit the map. If the map though is being broken because of things that feel outside of my control, then I need to change the map a little bit. So when we were going through the FTC, I would just get calls from attorneys. Like I remember being in London, running an event, 40, 50 clients, and I'm getting calls like in the middle of a session. I can't answer the call right then, but I can't ignore them for the rest of the day. So I have to go back to my room and call them. And that was that broke my map every other week, because you can't tell like when they're going to respond and when you're going to have to take care of business. I think that if my personality, my dad raised me to be like, my parents both raised me, if we're going to do something, we need to do it at 100%. And when I was a kid, 18, 19, 20, 21, I just was like, you guys are idiots. My dad, you don't know anything. So I just deviated from that. But then you snap back to it. You have a family. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it at 100%. And so it was really hard for me when I can't just, what most people do when they go through something like what we went through is they do sort of just deprioritize it. Like there's no winning. So I'm just going to, like, we'll get to you when we get to you. But for me and our team, it was like, if they ask for something by Friday, we need to get it to them by Friday because they asked for it by Friday, and they asked us respectfully. And so it wreaked havoc on this because I was supposed to be like writing a book, but I spent 7 hours coordinating this, and it would just throw chaos into my map. So I changed it a lot during that. And I actually had just blocks of buffers. Like you don't have any buffers on this map, the screenshot we showed, but if you go to my map 2 years ago, buffers everywhere. There's like a 30-minute buffer after every meeting. Now I would fill those up if nothing was happening. I would just write during that buffer, but that allowed me to move my stuff around without feeling like I was breaking the system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
What else you got?
The only other thing
you said you had a lot of questions.
I do.
You've had 3.
Okay.
Maybe 4. Maybe
4. How have you, what are some lessons you've learned about incorporating the Holy Spirit throughout your day?
Ask him.
Well, you said the biggest thing, one of your main missions in the last episode from last week, you said that you want to bring business owners closer to Jesus. What does that look like outside of that 30 minutes in the morning? Like, what is that like throughout the day? What does that practically look like for you?
I mean, dude, I pray in tongues in the cold plunge so that I don't die. That's a great idea. When I go on my walks, I pray. When I get on meetings with clients, a lot of times, most of the time before the meeting, I just ask them if there's anything that I need to say, anything I need to know. I had this happen last week. I was on a call with someone, a client call was coming up. I knew her really well. And I just asked the Holy Spirit, is there anything that you need to get across to this person that I need to say? And I heard something, I wrote it down, and I said it, and it was like a breakthrough moment. But you also have to be careful that you don't attach yourself to that, because the Holy Spirit's not just going to give you data to make yourself look amazing. So I usually, if that happens, I'll usually let them know, like, hey, I just feel like this is what God wanted me to say. Because a mentor of mine told me in March, he said, you need to be careful that you're not shoplifting. So how much glory can you handle without shoplifting a piece of it for yourself? And I was like, oh man, that's like that's my whole life pretty much. Because God's given me these skills. I'll go to events and awards and whatever, and people just think that Taylor Welch is the man. And I've had to learn how to just be honest with them and just say like, yeah, if you ask God, he'll tell you. And that's just what I've done. I just ask God for ideas. If I need a staff member filled, I just start praying for it. If I need an idea, I'll start praying for it. If I'm feeling fear, I'll start praying for it. Last week, ironically enough, after we shot the episode last week, I kind of was, I started feeling real antsy like every 30 minutes.
Really?
The whole day Wednesday. And the thoughts were not normal. They were like, what if all the businesses fail and you can't take care of your family? It's completely unrealistic and moronic. What if this person quits and you can't take it? It was all attached to like my family. Like, what if you can't take care of your family? And it wasn't me. I could tell it wasn't me. And we went to date night on Wednesday, and Lindsay could tell something. I was just a little bit like kind of guarded and not mad, but guarded.
Just
like
not
that's
present.
the best way. Like I was just a little bit like, and she's like, you need to go home and pray and ask God, because I told her what the thoughts were and what I was worried about. She's like, go ask God about it. So I sat in that corner and I asked God, what do I do when I'm feeling worried about my family? Because it, first of all, is not realistic, but it feels so real. When you're under spiritual attack somewhere, it feels real. Like it's like the Matrix. Like you can know intellectually that it's not realistic and feel emotionally as if you're going to die at the same time.
Yep.
So I asked God. This is Wednesday night. You're asking me how I integrate God into my life. Well, it's just all throughout it. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
So Wednesday night, we get back from date night. We usually like hang out, go to bed. She's like, go to your office, pray, fix your shit, and then come back, which is the benefit of having a godly wife, because they'll just tell you and they'll just call you on it. And so I asked God, it's like, what do I do with this? And here's what the Holy Spirit said. He said, remember that they're my family too. And if you trusted me for you, you would trust me for them. Solved. That was it. I wasn't connecting the fact that Kate's in God's family, and he cares about Kate just as much as I care about Kate. And then I wasn't connecting the fact that me being worried about my family was actually me not trusting God for me. Because if I trusted God for me, then the derivative downstream of that is that my family is going to be good as well. And this is like, the reason this is vulnerable to share is because it's not like things aren't growing. Like, it's not like it makes no sense. Like a lot of times lies, they just don't make any sense. They're not even real. There's just one sliver of a belief that you have about God that's opening a door, and you can be making more money, you can have more friends, you can have tons of momentum, but in your heart you're afraid, and that fear warps everything else that's going on. It's the spirit of mammon that pushes you into accumulation of more. The spirit of mammon is really only about taking your trust in God and just subtly reallocating it to a trust in money. That's what the Bible's talking about. And so this is like a constant thing for me, because somebody on TikTok said this, the closer I get to God, the harder my life becomes. No, false. That's a lie. And not only did you think it, you wrote it down, and then therefore you gave it power. The reality is that you have to learn how to do spiritual warfare. You have to learn how to pray through things that are difficult. The closer you get to your assignment, the more resistance there's going to be. It's not the closer you get to God, the harder your life gets. The closer you get to your assignment, the more resistance there is. If you don't know how to fight against that resistance, then you're just a cog in a wheel, and it's not going to go away if you just step away from your assignment, because then it's like, well, this person's easy. Let's just ruin their life, Yeah.
What does it look like when you have something that absolutely takes over your day, that bumps into the rest of your week, and now you feel like you got to work Saturday because Monday and Tuesday were bad? Are you still going to honor Saturday? How do you handle Monday and Tuesday going out of whack, and now you have overload work, and if you don't take care of it Saturday, it's going to bleed into next week? I know you've had that happen. I've had it happen. Lots of people have had that happen. What are some fails and what are some wins?
I mean, if I talk to Lindsay about it, and she is behind it, then sometimes I'll just work a Saturday morning. It's not a big deal. That's why I said 80%. So that question means you don't understand 80%. 80% means 20% of the time you're going to deviate from it. So what happens when you deviate 20%? What's inside of the
It's already built
realm?
in.
It's like with trading. You're going to lose 30% of the time, no matter what. You can do all of the things correctly, perfect entries, perfect access. You're still going to lose 30% of the time because it's random. So if you allow the 30%, 20% to break you, then it actually has nothing to do with your schedule. It has nothing to do with your map. It has everything to do with your expectations. Your expectations are unrealistic. So, but sometimes Lindsay's like, hey, like last week, we had a birthday party Saturday morning. I can't skip the birthday party. Then I was supposed to play at church on Sunday. We have an event this week. Had an event last week. So something had to give. And she's like, you can't skip the birthday party. So you need to text them and see if you can get out of Sunday. So that's what I did. And they found someone else. Most of the times I don't do that though. Like, so depends.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the best answer.
Let's talk about saying no for a second, because you talk about priorities. I think if I can find it, I'm gonna see if I can find the Twitter post that triggered the half of the world when you were talking about your priorities in God, you, family. But I know saying no can be really difficult, and you were implying before you had said yes to so many things that you really had to learn how to say no because it burnt you out and it messed up your relationship for a little bit with your wife. How have you learned to say no? What does that look like in a emotionally intelligent way, a respectful way, a loving way? How do you go about thinking about that heart posture, so on and so forth?
If it doesn't sound fun or interesting, I'll just say no. That's it. That's the secret.
If it's not fun or interesting, you just say no.
I just say no. Yeah.
How would you do that? Well, actually, no. I can already see.
There's an event coming up. Somebody wants me to speak at it. It's a big event. This is a real story. It's a really big event. It's in September. I'm going to Fiji to speak at an event in August. I've got another event in October. We have a conference at church in September. So there's like boom, boom, boom. I'm playing at conference. And so it sounds fun and it sounds interesting, but it sort of doesn't fit at the same time. So there's a list of this has to happen, this has to happen, this has to happen that Gabrielle has. And if she can get it, then I'll go. And if she can't get it, then I won't go. I have no attachment to it. It's just like my attachment is to my family and to my businesses and to my church and to what I'm called to right now. I don't have a lot of that obligation energy anymore. If it doesn't sound fun, if it doesn't fit, no, I can't do it. And if the relationship is fractured because of that, okay, cool, bro. I don't want to be friends with you anyway.
I was about to say that was where I was about to go wrong.
Like if your prerequisite of me as a friend is that I'm on beck and call for you, then just leave. Don't talk to me anymore.
What is the line between let your yes be yes and your no be no?
Well, if you commit to it, then you need to commit to it.
Got it.
So this is really like, I think what you're trying to ask is, what if I've pre-committed myself to a bunch of things?
Yeah, that's a good.
How do I get out of them?
Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have to let some people down, or you just buckle up and get through and stop being a jackass and stop saying yes to everything. Stop pre-committing to things. Sleep on something for 2 or 3 days. Make sure it fits. So we don't commit to stuff if I can't do it.
So you become a little bit slower to commit rather than just instant.
Yeah, like with the business stuff, it's a little bit different because now, people, I'm booked out to October on speaking, which isn't even that far, but it's the more you do something, the more that people see that you can do it, and then they want you to do it. And so we get a lot of requests in that are just like, hey, can you speak to this? Like, can you come out here? It's in San Diego. Can you come out? It's in Miami. It's like, oh my God, it's just like pinging around the world.
Yeah.
And speaking is fun, but it's not like my money maker. It is something I do because I have good things to say. It's not because it's like I'm called to be out 250 days out of the year. It's not my calling. So what will happen sometimes is like somebody will come in, or somebody at an event. This just happened. This is a perfect example. At the Charleston event, which was in June, someone was like, hey, I've got an event. I think it's in November, beginning of November. Can you speak? And I'm like, yeah, I'd love to, as long as it works. talk to this person. And then they'll go to that person, usually escapes, and they'll say, hey, Taylor agreed to speak at this thing. Here are the dates. What do we need to do to make it happen? And now she just knows what that means is Taylor probably said, yes, if it works. But for a long time, she was like, dude, what are you doing? Like,
yeah,
you're already booked for an event that week. Why'd you tell him you could do it? I said, I told him I could do it if it worked. Like, but they take that as thinking like that it's done.
Yeah, that caveat used to throw me off all the time when I first met you. I'd see you at church and be like, hey, you want to grab coffee? Be like, sure. And then I'd see you at the office and be like, no.
It doesn't work. Like if it works, it works. If it doesn't,
yeah,
it doesn't. And you're only going to have that issue though with the obligation of people who are like just at a different level, different season.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
Yeah. I would say, let's end it off with this. When you are making decisions in scheduling, prioritization, all the above, how does Taylor Welch define his mission, and how does that play into the schedule, the mission of you as a person, and how that defines your day, your week, and your month, your years?
Yeah. So this is an algorithm. So it's algorithmic in a sense. The only overriding function to the algorithm is Holy Spirit. So picture you have an algorithm, it's spitting out decisions, and you have Holy Spirit, which can just destroy the algorithm if he wants to. Mm-hmm. This happened with you. Actually, it hasn't happened in the last, I have not been overruled, by Holy Spirit one time in the last year. And it was with you. So you asked me if I could play something. I said, no, maybe, probably not. And the Holy Spirit's like, go change your answer. You're going. So I was like, okay, I'm going. And that's the only time that's happened in the last 12 months, I think. But it does happen occasionally. And you just have to listen to that. Obedience makes it easier for you to hear the next time. So you just always obey when you hear it. The algorithm though is I've got my main priorities at the top. If Lindsay's not on board, if it's compromised in the family, if something's going wrong, if it's going to kill me, then it's an instant no. Underneath that, we have the hierarchy of businesses. Mm-hmm. It's like TWC's up there. Harley Selling is probably right underneath that. We have the publishing company. We have 2 partnerships that are really small. And so we go through this list. If I'm at an event with TWC or if something's needed with TWC and it doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. Go to the next one. If there's obligations with HS, it doesn't fit. Go to the next one. So it kind of like disqualifies. If something gets through the whole list and it works, book it. Say yes. Do whatever. Most of the times things don't make it through. I would say like 10 to 15% of them make it through the whole list. And that's where if I'm on stage somewhere, it ran through that whole algorithm. There was nothing else required and we're there, you know?
Gotcha. And that was because your mission, what was that answers the algorithmic part. What's the mission for Taylor Welch?
It doesn't work that way. I think that we want it to work that way, but it doesn't. Like, let's say that my mission is to help people in God, business, and money. Those are the 3 buckets for like this show.
Yeah.
Just because it fits into those boxes does not mean that it's going to be a do it.
Yep.
It doesn't. That's more like the algorithm is top down. That would be more categorical on the top. It's not really how we make decisions. Mm-hmm. Each business has a mission inside of it, and so but my mission is like bigger than one company.
Yeah.
So like you can go back to the very top of the mission, and let's say the big mission is to bring business owners closer to God and to teach quality education on godly things, money things, and business things. Great. But if that was the decision maker, burn out in 7 days. Because pretty much every request and everything that comes in is going to fit inside of those categories. Unless somebody's like, hey, we're going to a strip club. Do you want to come like participate? No, it doesn't even go into nobody even asked me to do that. So the mission is more organizational. The algorithm is more of decision tree.
Got it. Good stuff.
Helpful?
Very. Any closing thoughts?